Welcome. Great crowd tonight for such dreary weather. I'm Dan Stever. I'm publisher at the Gazette. Welcome to you here in the audience tonight live, and also welcome to all those that are watching at home as this event is streaming live on the internet, on Gazette.com and on the Colorado College website as well. This is the first installment of something we're calling Community Conversations. We hope and intend that these community conversations will become an important platform to discuss and learn and share ideas about important issues facing Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region. Through community conversations, we hope to educate and inform, but more than that, provide a platform for discussion. If we can help create constructive discussion around important issues that face our community, we believe that we can facilitate more and better ideas and solutions to the problems and issues that we discuss through community conversations. We'll do this in a variety of ways. First of all, we start with articles in the newspaper. On Tuesday, we had a feature story about the homeless, and I don't know how many people saw this morning's paper. There was a great page one article today on the homeless. If you didn't see today's paper, in the back of the auditorium as you leave, we have stacks for free of this morning's Gazette, which you can read the newspaper. In addition to news stories, there'll be commentary that will invite. There was a couple of op-eds this week, one by Mayor Bach, in the paper about the issue of homelessness in Colorado Springs. We'll have live events such as this one. We'll stream them live to people at home so they can watch and they can participate, as you all can also, through questions at the microphone or through participating through Twitter. The Twitter hashtag is #CCHomeless for questions and comments. We'll continue the dialogue after tonight, too, first by some discussion in smaller groups in the background, in the back of the auditorium and at the tables, and in the newspaper and online in days to come. We're going to follow the issue and keep the dialogue going, again, in hope that more and better ideas lead to great solutions for all citizens of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region. I'd like to thank, first of all, Colorado College for hosting this event tonight. We pulled this together quickly out of the passion and commitment of a lot of great people. I'd like to thank the panel members for giving their time tonight and for participating. And I'd like to thank Food for Thought, who will be moderating and hoping smaller group discussions on the tables in the back after it's over if you'd like to get in smaller groups and discuss your ideas more specifically in smaller groups. And finally, I'd like to thank Jill Tiefenthaler from Colorado College for agreeing to host this and for agreeing to moderate tonight's first community conversation. And now I'd like to introduce President of Colorado College, Jill Tiefenthaler.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you to the Gazette for this partnership. Good evening and welcome to Colorado College. I'm so pleased that Colorado College is hosting this forum, which is part of this Community Conversations project that the Gazette recently kicked off, to offer differing viewpoints and seek community input on important issues. This is the first of many quarterly forums that we hope to host here at CC, which will be free and open to the public. These forums are intended to address larger and often divisive issues that affect our community. Tonight's topic is the homeless divide. Earlier this week, Gazette writer Barb Cotter wrote a special project story on the topic of people experiencing homelessness. Tonight, we've assembled a panel that can offer many views on this issue. First, let me introduce our panelists. Suzi Bach is the wife of Mayor Steve Bach and has been actively involved in various levels of homelessness in our community. Richard Skorman, co-owner of Poor Richard's Stores and Restaurant Downtown and a longtime community volunteer. Bob Holmes, executive director of Homeward Pikes Peak. M.J. Thompson is a Colorado Springs police officer, a member of the Colorado Springs Police Homeless Outreach Team. Sarah Stacy is Director of the Resource Advocate Program at the Springs Rescue Mission. And Richard Peitzman is Director of Community Relations at Set Free Bikers Church. Each panelist will begin by having 2 minutes for opening remarks. Then I will have some questions for the panelists, and after that, we'll open it up to your questions. Suzi, could you get us started?
Thank you, and thanks to the Gazette and to Colorado College for hosting this very important event tonight. Last year, Steve and I decided that we wanted to do something more in our community to help our homeless population, and along with Councilman Merv Bennett, decided to first of all, look at what we do in our community and then research best practices in other communities and try to come up with a comprehensive plan for dealing with homelessness within our city. You may have read in the paper earlier this week, we've come up with what we hope is a solution, Sunrise Village, which will be a holistic emergency services campus serving homeless families, men, and women in our community. Part of what we want to do is provide emergency shelter for people, and then also to have a day center. As many of you know, our library downtown serves as a day center for much of our homeless population. So we want to provide a place for people to go during the day, not only to come in out of the elements, but to be able to provide an array of services to these individuals. And the goal is not to create some new bureaucracy, but rather to work with the existing providers that we have in our community. I will say that through past 9 months and meeting with many of these providers and working with them, we have a great provider community that does tremendous work for the homeless in Colorado Springs. So we're looking forward to future discussions and hopefully moving forward on this very important project. Thank you.
Well, my claim to fame in this is I think I'm the only downtown business person up here. And I have been on Tejon Street for 37 years. So I've seen lots of changes, and I've also been involved directly in this issue. In fact, I was a volunteer for 10 years at the soup kitchen. I was the chief cook on Tuesdays and Fridays, and I would do Christmas and Thanksgiving because I wasn't afraid of the big meals. And my legacy is that I was foolish enough to decide to make pancakes one Christmas, and 2,500 pancakes later, I had to rest my arm for about 3 weeks because so I'll never make that decision again. But having said that, it is an impact to us who are business owners downtown. And does it mean that a business is made or broken because of people that are homeless or panhandling or loitering or smoking cigarettes in the wrong places or hanging out on corners or having mental problems, which is something that we've dealt with quite a bit over the years? Nobody will know that that's an issue for businesses or not because you can't say that that's the only factor, but it is a factor. And it changes over the years, and I actually was part of the problem when I was on council because we not only told the people that were panhandling they couldn't panhandle at the highway exits, then we made them kinder and gentler panhandlers by the aggressive panhandling ordinance. So we made them better at what they do. And it's a problem for all of us. And I'm not saying downtown businesses are against helping people. They certainly want to, but it's a complicated issue, and it's a struggle when you're trying to run a business these days. Competing with the internet, not having good parking, not having the ability to compete with big box stores. And boy, the turnover in downtown has been tremendous in the years that I've been there. And this is a factor.
I'm Bob Holmes. I'm the executive director of Homeward Pikes Peak. And I've been doing this for 10 years. We coordinate homeless services in the Pikes Peak region. Also run 4 programs for homeless individuals. Many of you are familiar with the 10 campers that were downtown in 2009, 2010. In conjunction with the homeless outreach team, we reached out to all of those individuals, put them in a program at the Aztec Motel. Actually, 485 of those 610 campers never went back to homelessness. After we reached out to them, we opened it up to women and children. In the 3 years it's been running, we've reached out to 2,200 people, and about 1,650 have exited to some type of housing. And we do that for about $8.50 per person per night. We're extremely cost efficient. Also run the Housing First program. People who are dual diagnosed, mental illness and substance abuse, and who are chronically homeless, bring them into the program. These people cost about $60,000 a year if you leave them on the streets, mainly from the usage of police, fire, ambulance, and emergency room services. We run the program for about $18,000 a year, most of which comes from the federal government. Also recently took over Harbor House Collaborative, and we have a residential addiction recovery program where people pretty much turn over in about 6 months. 60-some% go on to employment. And then the last one is a clinical services program. At any given time, we have about 275 recovering addicts, many from Department of Correction, about half men, half women. Most of the women are trying to stay clean and sober to regain custody of their kids. So 4 programs and coordinating homeless services. And I thank you for being here tonight. And thank you, Jill, for inviting us.
Thank you. I'm MJ Thompson with the Colorado Springs Police. I've been employed by the police department for 15 years. The last 9 or 10 has been working in one fashion or another with homeless. In 2009, as Bob mentioned, myself and my 2 partners, who I need to introduce, first is Officer Brett Iverson and Officer Dan McCormick, were asked by the then Chief Richard Myers to help maybe come up with some solutions, some positive ways that we as the police could touch and maybe impact our homeless community. It was a pilot program. I don't think by any means when it was started that it was meant to go on forever at the time. We were very successful in reaching out to our chronic homeless community with the help of several people sitting in this room right now. One of those, of course, being Dr. Holmes. And we were able to move a lot of people off of our creek beds and kind of clean up the community for down along the creek beds. So due to that success, again, from the help of our many community partners, we were established as a full-time unit. We also now have Sergeant Jeff Strossner is now just come over and working with us in the past few months, overseeing our unit. And our goal is to help homeless people get into any situation or any program that best fits them. We try to make an individual approach and a one-on-one connection with our homeless community, and let them know that we are there to help them in any way we can. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'm Sarah Stacy. I'm the director of the Resource Advocate Program, or RAP, at Springs Rescue Mission. RAP is one of 6 programs at the Rescue Mission that serve our neighbors that are extremely low income and mostly homeless. The RAP program in particular is a drop-in program every weekday, and we work hard to engage the chronically homeless, to get to know them, because just as you are a very unique individual, so is a person without a home, and the path out of that's very unique as well. So at RAP, we work hard to engage. It is a place that is safe. We particularly enjoy helping people with mental illness and addictions get into the right path for them. We're very patient with mental illness, and because it's very difficult for these neighbors of ours to access services, because of their addictions, because of their illnesses, because of their literacy or their lack of connection in the community. We are kind of a one-stop shop for them. We have a lovely partnership with Department of Human Services so that they can apply for food stamp benefits and medical benefits and the programs that are offered through DHS. And we have a great relationship with Social Security so that we can help them apply for disability benefits, and they don't have to find their way around town to the other offices. So I think we're pretty very, very individualized agency. We work one-on-one with our homeless neighbors, and thank you so much for inviting us here tonight to talk about that.
Thank you, Jill, and thanks to Gazette and to Colorado College for having us. My name is Richard Peitzman. I am the Director of Community Relations for Set Free Bikers Church. We came to Colorado Springs Thanksgiving of 2010. We had been looking for about a year for a location to plant a new set-free church. And we came down to Acacia Park, where Gary and Rhonda Poole and New Life were doing pizza in the park. We saw a couple of hundred men, women, and children, children without proper clothing, people missing digits because of frostbite. And our hearts broke for those people, and we realized that this is where we needed to be. That July of 2011, we purchased a home around AstraZeneca Academy, ran the ministry, the clothing ministry, the food ministry, church right out of the house till January of 2012, when we partnered with Jamie Simpson from Bikers Church. Jamie founded Bikers Church here in the Springs in 2008. And until we got together that January, she was holding that once a month at Fellowship Bible Church up on North Nevada. It was a great fit. We do have a motorcycle ministry as well, so it was a great fit. And we believe in a hand up, not a handout. We believe in working for what we get. So we leased the building at 2225 East Platte Avenue that January, and have been able to lease 8 other properties up in the Nob Hill area. We just leased another property in Security. We house 23 women. We house 36 men and 8 families that include 23 people, men, women, children. We have 2 women that are pregnant at this time. We work very closely with all the agencies that are represented here, and we do believe that this community, as a group, can do 100 times more than we can do as individuals. So our goal has always been to pull these resources together so that we can use all of our resources instead of just each individual one. And thanks again for having me.
Thank you. I have a few questions for our panelists, and then I'll open it up to all of you. Mr. Peitzman, I'll start with you. How would you define or summarize the challenges of homelessness within the Colorado Springs community as someone who has actually experienced it and doing outreach work right here in the Springs?
Well, I was homeless for years. My background since 1963 till 2004 was addiction and alcoholism, personal, homeless most of that time. What I'd say here that we see probably that's different is there's much more mental health issues than we've ever seen anywhere else. There's more families, full families, and I'm talking about men, a husband, a wife, children that we're seeing. So that's different because we haven't seen that before. There's always facilities for men. Facilities for women are few and far between. And the facilities for families are bare, almost non-existent. So I think that, like I said, we just need to come together and we need to address those issues as a community and pull those resources so that we can do the most good.
Thank you. Mrs. Bach, you've been involved with this issue locally for some time, and I wonder if you could just give us a broad or brief overview of how the community has responded to homelessness since you've been involved, and also talk a little bit more about the center that you're thinking of and how it will bring together resources and create some collaboration around this problem in the Springs.
In terms of community response, I think for me that's been the most heartwarming part of this experience. Just this last Tuesday we had as I mentioned earlier, a town hall meeting to discuss our concept with providers, and there were community members there. And earlier in the week, Barbara Cotter wrote an article about what we're hoping to do, and part of our call for action is that we are still in the process of looking for either a facility or land for our project. And the amount of response that we have gotten this past week has been phenomenal in terms of people with ideas, people who want to be involved, people who want to volunteer. As I said, that's incredibly heartwarming. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas, and so I feel confident that as a community we can rally around this issue and come together and really do something meaningful. And in terms of Sunrise Village, as I said earlier, we do want to provide emergency housing. We do need more beds. That the HOT team can tell you on any given night how many people they come across who need shelter. And it's not just single men and women. I think for me it was very sobering to know how many homeless families there are out in our community. So I think that the notion that there are people out there sleeping in their cars because they don't have a place to live. They're making some really tough choices, maybe simply because they lost a job or there was a medical emergency. So we hope to provide more emergency housing. We do have some in our community, but feel like we need more. And then as far as the day center, again, we want to be able to provide services so that folks aren't having to go from one end of downtown to another. You might have to go to Ecumenical Social Ministries to get a shower, over to the Marian House to get a meal, go to a myriad of places to try to get help. And not that you won't go to those places in the future, but if we can have one facility where perhaps, if you come in, you can seek mental health counseling, you can talk to someone about life skills, myriad of different types of services. We think that'll help. And also it'll bring our providers together in a way maybe that they already do a great job of communicating with each other, but I think being in one facility, it's even a better opportunity for these folks to communicate and to provide the best comprehensive plan for the homeless in our community.
Thank you. The police play a vital role in this conversation in keeping our city safe. Officer Thompson, your homeless outreach team was recently selected as one of 6 international finalists to receive the Herman Goldstein Award for Excellence in Problem-Oriented Policing. What is problem-oriented policing, and how has it affected the way local police define and address homelessness?
Thank you. Problem-oriented policing is a concept that was developed by Dr. Herman Goldstein in the early, or I should say mid 70s, as a way of instead of the police reacting to crime and just answering calls for service, to actually look at a problem and take its entirety in and look at meaningful ways that you can actually solve the problem. The Herman Goldstein Award that we were fortunate to receive by no means was done just by us. It was done by, like I said earlier, many of the people in this room that assisted us. And it was a lot of comprehensive thought process of looking at our homeless community, and we kind of put our heads together and thought, our approach needs to be a humanistic approach and a one-on-one approach with our homeless. So we took it upon ourselves, and we do it daily to meet with our homeless as much as we can one-on-one and find out what situation that they're in, what we can do to help them get out of that situation, whether it's drug abuse, alcohol abuse, if they're a registered sex offender. And that's what we did, and that's what we do. And when we were given the award, they looked at our whole concept of that, and thought that we should be the winners. So it was pretty humbling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The challenge of homelessness is often also discussed as a problem for local business and the economy. Mr. Skorman, does this issue affect the bottom line of our community? And how might we resolve the apparent tension between the visible problem of homelessness and local development?
It's a difficult issue. It really is, because if you think about the downtown business owners, 90% of them are individuals, not major chains, not big corporations, and these are people that give back to the community. I did some study on this subject, and when you buy at a local business, that business, 66 cents stays in the community. When you buy from a business that is owned from elsewhere, it's about 40 cents. And there's a stake that we all have. But many of us are in downtown because we love it. And we love the ability to do business because we get to know our customers. And many of the customers can be low income, can be people that are in the category that we're talking about today. Even homeless people will come in and be our customers. And I know at the Port Richards complex, everybody is welcome. And it's not something that we want everybody to feel comfortable, and I think most downtown business owners feel that way. But having said that, when you concentrate, say for example, 30, 40, 50 panhandlers in a 6-block area, and people are approached sometimes 5, 6, 7 times on a block, and you can't have a conversation with the person that you're shopping with. And by the way, it's women who are the most afraid, who have that perception. And I don't think they need to be afraid. I don't think much happens in terms of crime. I think most of the people that are asking for money are polite, and they're not out to harm anybody else. But having said that, there are sometimes people with mental problems that go berserk. And that is scary. It could happen anywhere. It doesn't have to be downtown. But when you concentrate all those services, the library, the soup kitchen, ecumenical social ministries, Goodwill, you can go through the whole list. Springs Rescue Mission, they're all there. And you have this concentration of people that does have an effect on business. If I could wave my magic wand, I wish that people would get all the help that they could and that we would have a society where we didn't have this problem. And I know it's much more complicated than that. But having said that, there's a downside. Downtowns are failing around the country. The ones that are successful have often dealt with this issue. You have a difficulty having a small business these days because of the competition. We're the only bookstore left in downtown, the only toy store. And it sometimes isn't easy when you have things that make it difficult for your customers to feel safe. The cameras have worked. I think the fact that the panhandling ordinance came forward, and even though it wasn't successful, has helped. But I think there's a problem that's festering that we have to figure out how to deal with as a community. My solution is just to bus all the panhandlers and the homeless people out to the airport. And then they'd have a good place to raise money and to get food and be on the bench. No, I'm just kidding. But that's a little bit of the mentality we as downtown business owners have.
A related tension has been whether or not Marian House belongs downtown and how people who could continue to access its services if it were moved to a less central area. Dr. Holmes, what's your perspective on this debate? And do you think it's possible to break down these us against them arguments as we work to improve the city for everyone?
Marian House Soup Kitchen is there. It's been there for decades. Actually, there's been a huge investment over the past years in that facility. I think what the general public doesn't know is about 70% of the individuals who eat there are not homeless. They're families, there are working people who are really trying to stretch their dollars as much as they can. There are elderly people from places like the Acacia Hotel that get the free lunch there so they can buy their meds. So I think there's some misconceptions around the soup kitchen. I don't see it moving, and I don't see it as a great, huge problem. I think that people are downtown for the same reason that we go downtown. It's an exciting place to be. I also think that if you're looking to panhandle, that's where the money is. I wrote an op-ed this past weekend. It was in the paper Sunday. I talked about the great bank robber Willie Sutton. They asked him, why do you rob banks? He said, because that's where the money is. That's why people panhandle downtown. It's just a reality. I can't see blaming any agency for, for drawing people downtown. I really don't believe in that. I think if the general public, you people sitting out here, the other 400, 500,000 people in the city of Colorado Springs would just cease giving money to panhandlers, the problem would go away. I think there's a misplaced sense of charity. Think about this. If you had a child that was on the streets, a grown child, and somebody was enabling them to buy drugs and alcohol, I think you'd be pretty upset. But that's what you do when you give to a panhandler. Makes you feel good for a tiny bit. You get the warm fuzzies. You feel like you've done something really good. It's not good. We need people downtown who are panhandling, and not all of whom are homeless, to not have the funding to buy drugs and alcohol. Person in the first row here gave me the phrase therapeutic nudge. If they didn't have the money to buy the substances, that would be the nudge maybe to get them into programs and help them turn their lives around. So I think we really have to give this some thought as a community. I think we need to expand the programs we have available. We talk about millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars. It's from the federal government. Each of you in this audience contributes about 80 cents a year through your taxes to help homeless individuals, 80 cents. We do not like to tax ourselves. Let's look in the mirror and say that to ourselves. I think if we were to run some type of a referendum, tax referendum tomorrow or in 6 months or a year to help the homeless, I wouldn't be very optimistic about it passing. So basically we're getting what we pay for. And again, I would plead with you, don't engage in a misplaced sense of charity. You give somebody $3 and they buy a pint of cheap vodka, they drink it, they pass out, you feel good about your $3. Once they pass out, somebody calls 911. The police come, that's $150. Fire comes, that's $350. That's $500. AMR comes, that's $1,000 to get them from Acacia Park up to Memorial. It's another $1,500 to push the gurney through the doors of the emergency room. Your charity, quotes, just cost the taxpayers $3,000. The average number of occurrences downtown per chronically homeless individual is 20 per year. They're costing $60,000 a year. We have programs we run for $18,000 a year that can get them off the streets, and most of that is coming from the federal government. So please give this some fairly deep thought as you move on from tonight, and I hope these ideas will stick with you, and we'll be happy to discuss them at a later time.
Thank you. Given the complexity of the demographics you serve, developing and delivering comprehensive resources and service must be tremendously challenging. Ms. Stacy, what types of resources are available for people experiencing homelessness in our community, and how are these resources coordinated across agencies to tackle this problem?
This is a great community with lots of resources. We could be here all night. There are many wonderful agencies in town that are able to give the homeless a hand up, that are able to assist those who currently are in houses but barely hanging on to them so that they can stay in those houses. We have page after page after page, and 211 has a huge database. So when there's a need for a service, I would just say, call one of us, call 211, and we can direct kind of uniquely. But there are benefit programs for people who are disabled and unable to work to provide them with enough income to obtain housing. There are housing programs for chronically homeless people. There are treatment facilities, several of which are at no cost to the person. And every church in town gives food away. So I don't know if I really answered that, but this is an amazing community filled with lots of resources. It's just getting the unique homeless person hooked up with the unique resource that's best for them.
Thank you. One of the challenges we face is the stigma attached to seeking help for homelessness or mental health issues. Mr. Peitzman, have you seen any prevalent misconceptions about homelessness in your experiences or the work that you do? And how can we break down these harmful stigmas to improve our community?
Thank you. I think the biggest misconception that a lot of people have is that everyone that comes seeking services that's homeless is a drug addict or alcoholic. That's just not the case. We do have that, but we have a lot of people that just are broke. They have no work. They're looking for work. They have mental health issues, like I said, and so there is a stigma that's attached with that. At Set Free Bikers Church, we don't look at anything but the person coming through the door and love them where they're at. That's our job. We're to love people where they're at, no matter what. And in that who we are, we're able to do some things because of that we're our own entity that some of the other agencies aren't able to do. We don't have to have an ID when somebody comes through the door. We don't need that. We don't need a Social Security number. We can take somebody in that may have had a drink or two that day, may be high. If the desire is there to change their lives, we're going to help them. And that may take 9, 10, 20 times. I can't count the number of times that I was in and out of rehabs and different centers and missions. And most of them is one strike and you're out. We have people that come back 9 and 10 times. And maybe that 11th time is the time that they're going to get it. My senior pastor, Pastor John Cabrera, who raised myself up, my senior pastor, Pastor Outlaw, said, we don't know when somebody's going to get it. It could be the 30th time, but we're going to take them back as long as they have that desire. So I think we need to do that. Love them where they're at.
Thank you. And I have a few questions that I'll invite any of the panelists to answer. So first, homelessness has become an increasingly relevant issue, not just for our city, but for the nation at large. One of the most heated discussions in academia and among community activists is whether or not local governments are actually criminalizing poverty and homelessness in an effort to clean up the streets. Community advocates in California, for example, have recently drafted a homeless Bill of Rights in response to these very issues. Assemblymember Tom Amiano, who authored the bill, says, the bill is really about basic justice. People who are homeless not only have to struggle with life on the street, but the indignity of being treated like criminals because they have nowhere to eat, sleep, or sit except in public. Knowing that similar concerns have been raised in relation to the urban camping ban in Denver and in relation to a no camping and panhandling ordinance in the Springs, how would you respond to these developments? And do you think it's accurate or fair to say that this type of legislation criminalizes people experiencing homelessness? It's a long question, I'm sorry, but any thoughts? Mr. Holmes, would you?
Yeah, sure. I'm thinking about the panhandling. It's not illegal to panhandle. For a safety reason, it's been prohibited on the on and off ramps. And aggressive panhandling, which I think is a pretty good quid pro quo, protecting citizens and also protecting those who panhandle, has been put into an ordinance. So I think that's pretty balanced. I don't see any discriminatory laws. I think it's always about trying to strike a balance between, say, the rights of homeless individuals and the rights of if you will, the balance of the community. I think that 600 plus homeless tent campers coming into the downtown area to camp was a little bit disruptive to the city. But I think what was worse was a sanitation problem caused by the individuals there who didn't clean up the camps, who didn't pack out their trash and other types of things. So it's always a struggle, and I think Colorado Springs actually does it fairly well. I look at other cities, some of the ordinances they have. I do think that they are discriminatory against homeless individuals, but I really do not see it here. And maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree, but that's my opinion.
Anyone else like to? Officer Thompson?
We did a lot of research, we being the hot team in the police department, researching best practices across the nation when we were developing our unit. And we did see that there were certain agencies throughout the United States that were criminalizing acts of sleeping, urinating in public, defecating, things that people take for granted that live in a house. And we, as the hot team, and we as the administration on our police department, took it upon ourselves to try to factor in, when the no camping ordinance was passed here, how we could best serve our homeless individual. We have a very comprehensive policy and procedure, or what we call a standard operating procedure, on enforcing our camping ordinance. To this date, the camping ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, I think it was passed in February of 2010. Mm-hmm. We have written 2 tickets for our camping ordinance. That being said, we take pride in that because we don't want to criminalize people for sleeping and doing things that they need to do to survive. We take pride in the fact that we as a police department and as a unit go out and seek these people and try to get them into the best facility, again, that would suit them. There will always be people that say the police, and particularly maybe even the Colorado Springs police, try to criminalize homeless, but I'm telling you from my unit and what we do with our administration, we try our best not to do anything of that matter and help our homeless community as best as we can.
Thank you. Anyone else? So all of you in some way are involved in working on homelessness. What actually would defines success in your work?
I think success is to have somebody or a family or an individual get off the street and stay off the street. To come back a year from now and they're still either in their program, they're working, they're being productive, they're in school, that they don't have to go through that cycle again, because the cycle is vicious, and the cycle it leads back to the addiction, to the hopelessness. So to have somebody stay clean, sober, employed, those things that gain one's self-respect and are able to be built on from there. So it's just keeping that avenue open and allowing them that time, that whatever it takes to be able to be successful and provide those facilities. Like Mrs. Bach is talking about, the service center would be a huge resource, just absolutely huge. We need to have those resources and have people access those resources. And I think Barbara asked me when she did the original article, what does it take? And it takes being willing. It takes that person becoming willing, or what I call sweetly reasonable, having been beat up enough physically, mentally, done enough time in jail, prison, to say, I can't live like this anymore. I need help. And there's plenty of avenues for that help here in Colorado Springs.
And I'd like to tag on to that. Just with something Richard said, I think we can measure success as people gain hope to change their circumstances. if you don't live outside and you don't walk 2 miles for your lunch and another mile for your shower and another several miles back home to a tarp and a sleeping bag, every bit of emotional energy can be used up in surviving. But I think we can also measure success in terms of building hope for change, because every step forward built on hope, if you meet an obstacle and your hope can survive, then the next time you can overcome the obstacle. So I actually have done some research on how do we measure hope in providing services, because I think it is a changer.
Thank you.
Yeah, short answer, I think to me success is imbuing someone with both the ability and the desire to become self-sufficient.
Thank you. Now I'd like to open up questions to the audience. We have 2 microphones, 1 on each side. So if anyone who would like to ask a question could step to the microphone, please. Yes, sir.
Those that are poor need transportation from the Social Security office to Memorial Hospital, Community Health Center, Soup Kitchen, and formerly to the food stamp office, which is a little further apart. But there was a crosstown shuttle, and a pastor on the ESM board told me it came to an end because wealthier clients did not have access to go where they wanted to go. You may know more about it.
So I would applaud the comments that have tried to portray the community of need as having a lot of different facets and a lot of different components. There are a lot of different kinds of people. I also applaud the distinction between homeless and panhandling. That's very important. I'd like to ask Bob a question. How long's your waiting list right now for Housing First?
Actually, we don't have a waiting list. We're full, but we have some attrition that occurs. We don't have a long waiting list. The Aztec, we had a waiting list of probably 85 people, and then we introduced the idea that you would have to take a urinalysis test before you fill out the application, and that dropped down to about 12. And that kind of gets to the whole motivation thing. That's a good segue. We have people at the Aztec who will stay 2 or 3 days. Most heartbreaking thing for me is a mom, a dad, 2 or 3 kids get into a room. 2 days later, parents are doing meth in the room, and then the whole crew has to leave. That gets back to that whole willingness thing. But there are a group of individuals out there. I call them my not yet people, who just haven't made that commitment to change their lives. The grip of the alcohol, the meth, the heroin, whatever, is just too tough. And I think that points up a deficiency that we have in town as far as homeless outreach workers. We have the fewest number that we've ever had. We have James Dixon from Catholic Charities, an excellent outreach worker. We've got 2 people from Urban Peak. We've got 2 people from Aspen Point. That's it for the entire city. We really need some more help in that area.
The point I want to drive home on, I'm sorry, a little commercial or comment. I've been leading a provider agency on the west side for 11 years. My sense is that, yes, we've got a lot of generous people in this community, but we don't have nearly as many resources as are needed to address the problem. I would suggest that Sunrise Village is a really nice idea, but unless we've got more Aspen Point workers or mental health workers who can engage people with mental health issues in a robust fashion, and we quadruple Greg Morse's homeless clinic and their capacity, then we're just shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. So the community needs to bring more resources to bear on this issue. There's a little bit of efficiency of scale by centralizing, but it needs a lot more than just centralization.
Steve, for some reason, we seem to have a lot more facilities for substance abuse treatment than we do for mental health. I think if you have to pick the main problem that we are facing, I would totally agree with you. It's lack of proper mental health services. I think Aspen Point does a good job, but they are constrained by funding. Right. We desperately need more funding for mental health services. Psychotropic drugs are outrageously expensive. To hire a psychiatrist to work with these individuals is outrageously expensive. We just need funding.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
How you doing? My name's Mike. I know Thompson. I know Sarah. I'll make a comment. Sarah needs more money for rap. Period.
Thank you.
Yes.
I did not pay him or incentivize him to say that in any way.
And I know Thompson. I know Brett. You know, we all need help. I heard there was up in Cannon, a prison that looking for, going to help the homeless for rehabilitation, you know, help, whatever. Is that true?
You know, Mike, I think, yeah, I think actually Suzi knows more. I vaguely know a little bit about it, but I am going to actually defer to Suzi. I think we discussed that one time, Suzi. I really don't know much about it.
This is the prison facility in Fort Lyons.
Yes.
Yes, it's it actually just, I believe, last night or the night before, the legislature approved. And my understanding is that this facility will serve homeless veterans.
Okay, when do you think it might happen?
I don't know. I know that they just approved it, and I think, you know, there's probably
who's going to fund it?
Pardon me?
Who's going to fund it?
The state.
The state?
You. We all are, but
okay.
This is
I got one more question.
being funded by tax dollars.
I got one more question. How come the city don't help the homeless? The only ones helping the homeless here is the church. How come you guys don't?
It's not true. Because our hands aren't tied, there's our. That's a good question.
Well, you know.
I know, Thompson, I know you.
Well, you know, we do. I mean, if you look at it, it's not a lot. The city does provide 3, now 4, with Sergeant Strassner, full-time officers dedicated to this.
Right, I know. Yeah.
And you know, there's 3 or 4 of us now for the entire city. As you well know, our police department is very strapped with resources. It's hard to even get officers to come out if somebody's breaking into your car or stealing your vehicle. And you know, we get a lot of people that say we don't even need that 3 of us is too many to help the homeless. And I'll be the first one to disagree. We could double or triple the size of our unit and still be busy. So you know, the city, I think they're doing what they can. I know, obviously, on the police department, we're doing everything that we can with our resources. So it's just, you know, the economy's horrible, and I know that it keeps getting beaten into the ground. Everybody's talking about the economy, but there is a lot of effects of the economy. Right. And there's just not a lot of money out there. Everybody that sits up here, Richard will tell you, and Sarah, and you said it yourself, there is just not enough money to put out there.
Question? Okay, you guys hit the homeless, you know, the tents and everything. When you take all their stuff, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to steal from somebody else. How many people die? Mm-hmm. I mean, Brett, you know. Thomas, you know.
It's horrible, and we try to prevent it. And usually when those people die in the camps, we're the first ones to find them, and it breaks my heart every time it happens. So
I know. It hurts, Bill.
I understand.
It does.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, my name is Doc, and I'm president of the El Paso County Homeless Veterans Coalition. My question is for Mrs. Bach. Have you reached out to the Veteran Affairs or the Veteran Service Office to ask them if they're going to be providing assistance at the Sunrise Village?
They were invited to our town hall on Tuesday night, and quite honestly, I'm not sure if we had anyone in attendance from Veterans Affairs, but certainly yes, we want them to be part of the Matt Park House was there.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I work here in the Collaborative for Community Engagement and oversee the CC Community Soup Kitchen. I was also a homeless youth in Colorado Springs for a number of years. And so my question is, are any of your organizations utilizing, or are there plans to develop a community advisory position or a community advisory board so that we can draw the voice of the homeless directly into policy decisions at every level, from local government to our institutional policy, in the way that we craft these resources and these services to be the most beneficial from an asset-based model of community development?
In response to that, I think I'll just say at the rescue mission, we don't have homeless individuals on our board as far as I know, right? But the programs are so individualized that each person who's without a house is mapping their own goals and their own process, so they do have their full input.
I think it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Yes. James Beechwood, long-term resident of Colorado Springs, came to the college 62 years ago, have a bachelor's, 54 years ago, a master's, 48 years ago. So I think I know a little bit about the college and also some of the problems as far as Colorado Springs is concerned. Now, the thing is that where are you going to try and put a facility? And that becomes the question, the $64 question that you don't know how to answer, okay? You have some ideas, but I have one idea that I'm going to present, and it involves the college, okay? So therefore, what you're looking for is a place where you can go ahead and have a campus and not have many people around that say NIMBY, not in my backyard, and I know this place only has one resident, okay? So we're not talking about a lot of residents, etc. It involves the college. There's two locations that the college has that they could lease or that they could go ahead and sell. The first is going to be at 1118 North Glen, which is across from the Van Briggle Pottery, okay? The second location is at 239 West Uinta, which is on the north side of the bridge and the creek, and across the street is the CC parking lot for the buses and also a 7-Eleven. By having a campus in those areas, the college could go ahead and have a tax benefit accrued to them because of the fact that they've offered something to the community. I really think that you need to go ahead and look at it. The president, the trustees of the college need to go ahead and not just say, NIMBY, not in my backyard. It's going to be in somebody's backyard, and I think very clearly that this is only one resident. Drive by and you'll see only one resident in that area. At the present time, that lot is used to store not wood, but dirt, okay? So those are my ideas. We need to get a campus so that these facilities can all be in one place. Thank you.
If there's anyone in the audience who would has suggestions, and I've written down these addresses, please contact the mayor's office, ask for Denise. All of this information we're compiling, and we are looking at all the location suggestions that are coming in.
Thompson, you're the best one I've seen tonight. You're right. You haven't been pushing the tickets you could have been pushing. I've seen it on a lot of the hot stickers. Miss them lately, buddy. I've been collecting them like lottery tickets. I bet on them better than anything else in this town. Now, that word homeless, we're real outdoors people. I don't want to be degraded anymore. Black folk don't want to be called niggers. I'm not homeless. I'm an addict. I'm a mental health person. You know, hey, I love the way you like to cringe on the drug and alcohol addiction. There's a liquor store on every street corner. It's one of the easiest things to get in this town. Drugs are everywhere. You're not going to be able to stop it. You're not. Pharmaceutical companies have been doing it on our streets just as well. Why blame the crutch? Just like why turn around and say, you know, homelessness is an excuse. I'm tired of people degrading me. I clean up your town. Let me ask you, why is Colorado not on any of those water bottles? Other states are. That's an economy sitting on our ground. We say our town is clean. I see filth, and I don't want the Olympics to see it. I pick up the cans every day in this town at 2 cents on my dollar. Every bit of my Social Security, like a lot of people in this town, goes into this local economy. Every bit of my Social Security. They say that I'm not supposed to have a job. I'd love one. Love to find one. Background checks make that a little hard for everybody to get jobs out here. What we need is a facility that will help out with a basic means. Parking spot, a little bit of electricity. You know, we could be cleaning up this town and not seeing homeless people out here sitting around drinking when we could be cleaning it up for half of the price, cleaning this town up, recycling, making a difference, making something that people want to come here for, and for all of the people that are coming here from out of states, from other natural disasters, that come here in hopes, our churches are strapped. Our city government is a joke. I'm sorry to say, but Heartless, you know, we go back a long way. You know I won't be able to get into anything. And I'm going to tell you this much right now. These people out here are caring, and they want to see a change. Why is it Chrissy Fowler still sits standing there looking nasty? That could be done with something. It could be used. You know, all I'm trying to say is this. I have a job. I clean up your town. I pick up your cans. I'm filthy every day because I don't have access to washer and dryer. You guys are doing the best you can to make sure we're not getting pushed around by this camping ban. And we live in a state that markets outdoor living. Wait a minute here. I'm a real outdoorsman. I choose it because I have that addiction that I've had since I was a kid. I'm an addict to homeless. I don't want a home. All I want is a place to be left alone. Somebody to stay away from the crazy out there. And you know what? I may be a mental health, but there are crazier out there than me. James Holmes proved that on my birthday. Do we want to see that happen in Denver? In the Springs? It could. There are those of us out here that are very, very sick. If we have a complex, if we have a way to take care of this more properly, people wouldn't be so scared at seeing the drunks out there because they'd be cleaning up. We'd have jobs. We'd have a reason to get up in the day. And I'm so sick and tired of seeing the two-facedness of this town when it comes down to the way we turn around and point fingers as go here, go there, go there, go there. You know what? Jesus was homeless, and we live in a Christian town. Why do we prosecute the homeless, period?
Amen.
Hello, my name is Eric. I'd like to thank you for holding this discussion. I'd like to ask maybe next time if we could see some maybe some homeless advocates, you know, on the panel. I mean, I recognize, you know, being in the business of caring for the homeless, that's one thing. I mean, that's kind of unseemly for somebody caring for the homeless telling our city that we're doing a fine job. I mean, somebody like from the homeless community. In Denver, there's a group called Homeless Out Loud, and they just released a survey, did a survey about what's happened to the homeless since the implementation of the urban camping ban, and those results are actually pretty horrific. And that camping ban was they used our city as an example when Denver decided to initiate theirs. So I guess I'm just hoping that we could see some more balance. And I'd like to ask a question that was asked earlier, and I don't believe it was answered. And that is homelessness a crime? Do you consider homelessness a crime? And I ask that because I look at the framing and I wonder, why do we have a police officer on the panel? Somehow we take it for granted that we need a police officer or many officers present at this conference. You know, if we were having a conference about bankers, would we see a police officer on the panel? I mean, that's probably where there should be a police officer, right? So I guess I'd like to see this maybe framed so that we're not automatically talking about something that we pretend is not illegal. Thanks.
A couple of questions. One, a couple days ago I read an article by someone who described our current economy as the screw you recovery. That basically the banksters, the 1%, just the CEOs are doing quite well. Large businesses are doing quite well. Small businesses, like Mr. Skorman's, are struggling. And individuals are struggling just to find a job. And I do not see this changing. So how are we going to adapt to that?
I think at the homeless outreach program at the Aztec Motel, we've seen a difference in the demographics since about 2009, 10 or so, when the economy started heading south. It used to be that the crisis homeless or the invisible homeless were women and kids, women escaping from domestic violence situations or trying to recover from deadbeat dads. What we're seeing since then, over the past 3 years or so, is more small family units, like a maybe married, maybe not married. I call them alpha male, alpha female, with kids, but maybe both of them worked at a Walmart type of job. One of them lost the job, and they were forced to make a decision between their mobility and their home, and most of them decide to keep their cars over an apartment, and then you've got families living in cars. These are the people that we're bringing in to the Aztec. We specifically changed the focus from the homeless tent campers, once we had reached out to all of them, to these small families. But you're absolutely right. If it's going to be a trickle-down effect, we haven't seen any. I mean, the Dow Jones is headed north. That's a great deal if you've got an IRA. But we're not seeing that getting down to the $8, $9 an hour individuals. I think as businesses start to recover, one of the last things they do is rehire employees. They try to continue to cut costs, put some money aside for the next recession or whatever. We're not seeing any kind of economic recovery for the people in these low-paying jobs.
Thank you, Bob. We only have about 5 minutes left, so I want to take a couple more questions, and then I know
I wanted to have my second question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to let people know we're going to take a few more questions, and then the panelists will stay to answer additional questions as we move outside. So, yes.
I'm Pastor Mary of Ministry for the Homeless. And I believe, like you, Sarah, that we have to give them hope because they don't see it. Before every cold weather storm, that's when I'm scrambling to find blankets or anything that will keep them warm because their blankets and their sleeping bags have been confiscated. I want to give them hope because most of the places they walk treat them, and I can't even say what I want to tell you, but treat them like they're the scum of the earth. They're told, get a job and get housing, and yet we talk about all the things that Colorado Springs has to offer, and yet most of the people that are in my church are on a 6 month to 1 year, sometimes 2 to 3 years, waiting list. How about you guys, if you were homeless, some of you out there? Not only that, but the homeless has changed. It's not just the drugs and the alcoholics anymore. It's the person that was one paycheck away from being homeless, and with the economy. And a lot of the things that I hear and that I see are not the homeless. It's just that they're easy. They're vulnerable. They live on the streets. The problem is the economy.
Mary, do you have a question? We want to take a couple more questions.
The question is, if we really want to help the homeless, what are we going to do? Because really, except for nothing short of persecution at times, I don't see where they are giving them any hope that it will get better.
And this will be our last question, sir.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Sean Huff. I'm a social justice advocate and an ambassador for an organization in California that works on homeless issues. If you would allow me, just briefly make a few comments, and I'll be very brief. I believe that the notion that we're talking about individuals who are hanging out downtown is not really the root of the issue that we're here together to talk about. I believe it's a much broader issue. I believe also that in terms of asking ourselves the real-life questions of whether or not we're focused on enforcement or rehabilitation of these individuals. The easy path is to go down the path of enforcement versus the comprehensive nature of rehabilitation. And what you're referring to as an integrated service model, I absolutely agree with that. If we're going to have that, we also need to have other services included, washers and dryers for those people to do their clothes while they're there, the ability to talk to a counselor, the ability to sign up for voucher programs, and most and foremost, I would also comment to the panel that we also need to see individuals who have been former homeless individuals, such as myself, be on some of these boards and nonprofits that are distributing these resources in our community. And there needs to be a task force that has teeth, that sits underneath Mayor Bach, that has the ability to get outcomes measures, the number, rate, and percentage of people's lives that we're changing. If we can improve lives in other countries at the tune of trillions of dollars and at the cost of thousands of lives, we ought to be able to restore hope at the doorstep of America.
Thank you. I'm sorry to have to cut off the questions, but our colleagues from Food for Thought are here, and they're going to be out in the lobby facilitating small group discussions on the topic of people experiencing homelessness. Food for Thought is a program of the Colorado Springs Diversity Forum that fosters civil discourse with a goal of respectful, curious, non-judgmental conversation. So I invite all of you to join the tables outside or to approach the panelists after to follow up with your questions. I want to just thank everyone for joining us tonight, and I want you all to please join me in thanking our panelists tonight. Thank you. Have a great evening, and please find a seat at the table in the lobby.